So let me hit play. Okay. All right. So I want to switch it so that I can see more faces. I don't know if I can do that. Anyways, so we're going to talk about branding. So anybody here have any kind of specialty where they studied branding and marketing? I can't see all your faces, but if Brad can tell me if he sees anybody.
Feel free to hit the chat button.
What was that?
Anyone who wants to do that, they can go ahead and click on the chat button or unmute themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of a specialty. Branding is not the same as marketing. So one thing to understand about marketing is companies market their brand. Does that make sense to people? So if you're very clear on your brand, think about any company that you love. Think about your top companies that you're super loyal to, that you're like, oh, I would never have a Adidas pair of shoes. I'd only have Nike shoes or whatever. That's all part of like their brand that you're hooked on. So the point is that people get hooked on your brand. So the other part of that too is there's Take Shape for Life. There's that brand. They do their own type of branding. Look at how they word things. Look at how they posture things. Look at how they just read an email and you're going to start to catch on to like their brand. Well, you as a human being, you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, independent contractor, you also have a brand. So your brand is within Take Shape for Life and you get to play off of that, but you yourself represent something. So let's go through some examples. And also, real quick, when I teach this class, it's normally to a room full of people where it's live. So we're a room full of people and it's live. So we will just have you unmute because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions and there's a lot of interaction in the next part. So please feel free to popcorn style and let's openly talk about this because I'm not going to tell you everything there is to know about what I'm about to show you. I want you to think it through. So who knows who this is? Probably most of you. Click through. Yeah, I'm looking through. Okay, so if you don't know, this is Steve Jobs. And if you've seen the movie Jobs, you know a lot more to this story. But basically, this is one of the founders of Apple. And his vision of Apple is that Apple, well, he's no longer with us, but his vision lives on through Apple because he made Apple so that it's a movement. So the thing about Apple is when you're loyal to that brand, you drop $2,000, or like the most recent thing, we all dropped a whole bunch of money on Apple, like on the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, whether you needed one or not. Like when the line between need and want gets so blurry, that's like a really strong brand. So I would say he had that nailed. So the thing about Steve Jobs too that was so attractive is that he wasn't shaky on anything he stood for. And watch the movie or read the book about him and you will understand that. And that's something that we can take away is we will not create a movement. You yourself cannot create a movement if you're shaky in any way on what your brand is, what your movement is, what you stand for. And then, so just being 100% clear. And I know that that's ambiguous because most of you, this is the very first time you've ever heard the word brand. So we're going to go into how you establish that, but just keep that in mind. Once you have it established and clear, it's like a non-negotiable for you in how you stand for things. So let me click to the next person. Hey, Brad. It's not really letting me click. There it is. Oh, okay. So Justin Timberlake. Okay. This slide actually used to be Justin Bieber. And if you want to watch a screw up of how to mess up your brand, go study Justin Bieber because he was one of the most popular slides on here. But I had to take him off because he's such a bad example right now. If you want to learn what not to do, go study him. But I'll teach you about Justin Timberlake real quick. So just his resume alone is actor, record producer, musician, businessman, dancer, singer, television producer, singer-songwriter, film producer, and voice actor. His net worth is right now is $175 million. And so the part about brand is write this word down and Google it, is omnipresence. And if you've read the 10X rule, you're very clear on omnipresence. And that's what if you're trying to create movement, you are trying to create omnipresence. So let me tell you just a couple of things he did in the last album he launched. So he didn't have an album for 6 years. And like, he was acting, but nobody really knew what he was doing. He was around, but he wasn't. So he came out with the 2020 Experience, which you probably all heard at least one of the songs. Okay, so real quick, I'll tell you a couple things. He was really selective, even though he was everywhere. He was really, really selective of where he partnered in order to promote his brand, and you should be too. He strategically partnered with Jay-Z and did a tour with Jay-Z, which is huge. He's playing off someone else's enormous brand. He hosted SNL for the 5th time, which there's only like 6 or so people who've ever done that, ever. And he was on Jimmy Fallon for an entire week, just to secure up that if you didn't know he had an album, now everyone in the country, if not world, knows this guy has an album coming. And because of all that, the payoff was he had almost 1 million copies sold in his first week. So just think about that when you're talking, like, when you want to understand the word omnipresence, if you're studying the 10X rule or you've thought of this through, think like that. I know you're not going to be on Jimmy Fallon for an entire week, but just think big like that. The next one is, speaking of Jay-Z, most people, if I asked you who this was, can somebody come off mute and say who is Jay-Z? What's his profession?
I was going to say he's a rapper. Right.
Which, yeah, he raps, but he's a CEO worth $560 million. So what happened with Jay-Z was he was rejected by every record label. So instead of just giving up, he made his own. He was rapping. Hang on, I keep getting text messages. My phone's going to have to turn off. He was rapping about somebody else's apparel brand. And so he was making them a whole bunch of money. And when he went to them and he's like, I'm making all this money for you. You're like representing, like you're making money off of me. They came back with a super weak offer for him. So he said, forget that. I'm just going to make my own clothing company. And he sold it for $200 million. So the guy knows how to make his brand, right? He knows what he stands for. You don't even have to agree with it. The fact is it's there. No one's allowed to call themselves his manager. He clearly says that no one manages him except himself, which I think is super cool as an entrepreneur to think like that. He's like, I'm not an employee. I'm me. I'm in charge of me. Another thing he says is he doesn't work, he creates. And I think that's really a powerful statement. And I think if we think like that, we don't work, we create. That's so much bigger and so much more on purpose. But again, you have to understand what your brand is. Since we got a late start, I'll try to fly through this real quick. But when you look at this picture, most people, probably all of you, are thinking the Kardashians. But when I looked at this picture, what I was thinking was there's a genius in this picture named Ryan Seacrest. And you probably don't know this, but most of the Kardashian stuff is all coming from Ryan Seacrest. So the thing about Ryan Seacrest is he's another one that's super, super clear on his brand. And his brand's kind of different. It's more his personality. And that's something to think about too, is what's your personality? Like, does your personality or what you put out in the world, how you treat people, does it match what you are saying your brand is. And I think he does a really, really good job about that. He's likable, he's charismatic, and he's super omnipresent. Will Smith, you all know who that is. I can put up some notes later, but he says some really great stuff about, actually, I'll read you. So this is his 5 success secrets. 1 is decide who you're going to be, which is great. I don't think that falls into the identity part as much as what like Dr. A is trying to get us out of, but just decide what you stand for. Create your own possibilities. Quit waiting for other people to make it for you. You get to make your own. Make lemonade out of life's lemons. Don't be outworked, which is, if you read about him, you'll understand that more. And then I love this one. He says, stay ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to go get ready. And that is powerful. I'm not even going to go. Yeah, all these, you know who all these people are, which is really funny. You got Taylor Swift, Abraham Lincoln. One of my slides isn't, it was backwards. Audrey Hepburn, Mother Teresa, and Princess Diana. I mean, we're talking legacies. Like Mother Teresa and Princess Diana, think about that one. They are the epitome. If you want to talk about a brand, they lived out servant leadership. For the rest of probably time, they will always be thought of as 2 women who, if you want to see servant leadership, that's what they represented. So I think that it's not all about like fame and record deals and blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's whatever you want it to be. But there's no shame in whatever you want it to be. Does that make sense? Like, you don't have to be like this, I'm this philanthropic, do good for the world, blah, 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 blah. Like, you can do that. You can do whatever. Just decide and then make it happen. So setting your brand on fire to ignite the world. So as you can see, that's what some of the world changers do that I just listed, which was hard to pick just a few of them. But I knew everybody on here, unless you're like, I don't know where you've been living, but you probably know who all those people are. So here's questions. So if you're not taking notes, start to write this down. This is how you're going to figure out your brand. So what do you individually, what do you stand for? And I would put like a column, what do you stand for? And then if you have a family, like what does your family stand for? And then who do you stand for? Like who do you stand up for? What is your promise that you're making to like the world through your brand? What is your culture? If you don't understand the word culture, I would advise like Googling that. And then what is your voice? So your brand is derived from who you are, who you want to be, and this is the most important part, and who people perceive you to be. So much of this is what the outside world sees when they look at you. And I'm not talking about like, like people get all up in arms about like, I don't know what people are going to think of me. Start being on purpose and intentional with how you live, and you can fill that out through these questions, and that's what the world is going to see. It may take some time. None of us have a clean slate. We all came from something, and that's okay. Like it might take a little while, but you get to start now fresh and move that forward. And eventually people will see what you put out there. Brad, it's not clicking through. There we go. So here's some more to write down to answer to yourself. So what is your mission? And I know that Take Shape for Life has a mission in itself, and they're very clear on that, but what is yours? What is your vision? And then most importantly, when you figure this out, ask yourself, are you consistently true to your mission, vision, and brand? And consistently is the most important part, by far. So, to go into that more. So this is some quotes from entrepreneur.com. So these are some articles that were written about branding specifically. So talking about being consistent, be true to your brand. Clients won't return to you or refer you to someone else if you don't deliver on your brand promise. Like you wouldn't, so why would anybody to you, right? Be consistent. This tip is the most important tip on the list. If you can't do this, your attempts at establishing a brand will fail. It doesn't mean that you can't have a screw up once in a while, but consistency doesn't mean perfection, right? It means consistency. Make sure I didn't miss something. Okay, so your strategic presence, which AKA your brand. If you want to understand a different way to say brand, write my strategic presence affects how people take action on what you communicate. So what you're communicating to the world, right, will affect how people take action. So be strategic about who you are, and this is huge. Don't just let it happen. Whether you know it or not, you are currently walking and talking and spreading your brand around the world. Wouldn't you rather be intentional about what that is versus just letting it happen? Because it is happening and it's happened your entire life. But from this day forward, now you're educated and you don't get to just like plead the fifth like, oh, I don't know. Now you do know and you get to decide. So it's pretty empowering. So here's some brands that we all know and you probably respect. So we've got Bose, Starbucks. It doesn't have to be your favorite coffee if you're from Portland because we have Stumptown, but you got to respect what they've done. Nike, Nordstrom. This is one of my favorite consistent brands. Is there anyone, do most of you know, nod your head if most of you know what Nordstrom is? I know they don't have them everywhere, but you probably know what it is. So let me tell you a story real quick about Nordstrom. Just the other day, what was that, like 2 weeks ago, Brad? We were there on a scavenger hunt for our friends, for Doug and Tia, if you know Doug and Tia, where their little girl was turning 10 and she wanted us to come to her scavenger hunt. So one of the spots was to meet them at like the lipstick counter at Nordstrom or something, because that's what 10-year-olds do. And what happened was we were going down the escalator and one of her little friends at the party got her shoe stuck. I don't know what she was doing, but she got her shoe stuck in the escalator and it came off. And versus most stores are probably just going to play that off like, whatever, sorry. They actually took all the kids upstairs and she got to pick out any shoe she wanted on the entire floor for free. And they totally comped the whole thing because that matches their brand. Do you understand that? Like, that's where they're protecting what all those little girls for the rest of their lives are always going to remember that and think, oh my gosh, remember when Nordstrom took such good care of so-and-so? That was a genius move. Of course they cared about the little girl, but think what other store is probably going to do that? Not very many. So I just thought that was such a cool representation. You got Apple, and then you have Take Shape for Life. So the thing about Take Shape for Life is its goal, if you aren't aware, is to be in that premier group or club or whatever, but up in that level. Like that's their desire. So that's pretty cool that you're a part of something that desires to be at that level of quality. So who do you know that's a master at this? Like this meaning consistently true to their mission and their vision. Like who do you know personally? Anyone can come off mute. Is there somebody that comes to mind?
Ashley, I think for at least us, our pastor of our church is very consistent with their brand and what they're building.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. It's so clear. Like that's, I think that's what's working for him is it's so clear. If you can say it out loud and translate it to other people, you know you have it down. What else? Who else? This isn't really a trick question. There should be something pretty obvious.
Yeah, you got someone talking, Ashley.
What did you say?
I think Denise Heinrich's really good at expressing who she is, what she represents, and very consistent.
I think that's a great example. And I think that's so contagious. Like when you go to her events, you just want to be a part of that movement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example. Well, I'll tell you who I think of is Dr. Anderson.
I was going to say that. I was trying to think of someone outside of Take Shape. I'm like, Dr. A, Dan.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you want to see, like, which is great considering we have access to him, we get to see his, like, moves, you know. It's not like hidden behind some curtain. You don't have to guess what he's doing. You get to actually watch him in motion, and that's how you get to see, like, if I need an example of what it looks like to consistently be true to my mission and vision, like, what would Dr. Anderson do, you know? So there's you, and this is you today. You have this blank slate, and there you are. Like, we're cleaning your slate. I don't care what is in your past. I don't care what people think of you yesterday. Like, you're educated now, and you get to decide. So my question to you is, if you're wondering, like, one thing is, I will ask you this. I've heard so many people say this, and it seriously breaks my heart. People will go, I want to be like, I know they're joking, and it's funny, and I've probably said it too, but they'll go, I want to be you when I grow up. I'm like, how about you just be yourself? Like, be the best you. Why not just be you? You don't want to be me. You don't want to be anybody. Just be you. And I think the question to that is, why not you? There's no reason that you don't have you're just as good as anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, all those people we just went through, yeah, they work really hard. They've had, they've taken advantage of opportunities and whatever. But there's no reason that you can't be at the ranks of somebody that you would consider great. Because people, if you work hard and you're true to your brand and you're very, very clear on what you're doing and your actions match that, you're building greatness. So, with that being said, decide what you want to represent and stand for, and then just go out and do it. Don't overthink this part. This is like the go, right? So my question is, this is so pertinent right now. When people think about health, ask yourself, do they think you? Hang on. I got kicked off again. Hang on. And then the next question is, when people think hope, do they think you? So I would write that down and I would post it, like, wherever, when you're making decisions or you're not taking action or whatever, is look at that and ask yourself, when people think about hope and health, are they thinking about me? What do I need to do so that they do? So right now, it's time to build your brand. So where do you want to be come like January, February, March? So in about a month and a half, right? And then the couple months after. So America's number one, we all know this, but it's true every year, America's number one New Year's resolution is to get healthy or lose weight. So my question is, will people be thinking of you when they rate their resolution? And then, hang on, I gotta move this. Hang on. I can't see. So your intentional branding starts immediately, right? So let's look at this timeline. Brad, Do you want to go over this with me real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the thing about this timeline, it's not your timeline. It's not Take Shape for Life's timeline. This timeline literally comes from 6 years of experience from just Brad and I. When we think, like, people always ask, I don't say always, but like a lot of the times we'll hear people like, I just want to do what you do. I want to know what you do. I want to shadow you. Well, I'm going to give you the example basically to shadow our brain. This is what we're thinking of right now. And this is how we've thought from like the very beginning. And this is our 6th new year. So personally, so we'll tell you our time tested and true timeline, but it doesn't mean it's yours. So just take the notes and then decide what yours is.
And it's also the same timeline that all the world changers that are in our business do as well. So, not having anyone else set their standard for them.
Right. Good point. So let's go through it. So now, November, December, this is what we're doing. We're planting seeds. We're starting clients. We're engaging pre-clients. So building up new, spheres or revisiting old ones.
Well, and actually, should we recap that basically if you're wondering all the people that just have an explosive out of the gate January and awesome end of December and, their business grows and a ton of people are coming their way March and April and all that stuff, this is basically the timeline that they're doing right now. This is where the seeds have been planted in this timeline.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
Exactly. So it's not by chance. They don't get lucky. It's not because they knew more people. It's not because they're more popular. Like, I've heard it all. It's not because of any of that. This is why they're growing. So engaging pre-clients, layering the New Year challenge, starting coaches. Think about if you start a coach now, get all that skill set out of the way now that they need to build when they start, and that way they're ready come January. If we wait to sponsor till January, which does happen, it's okay if somebody wants to start in January, but why not get them started now so they're trained for the Super Bowl? Do you know what I mean? Like, they're going to come up on their biggest hit. It's a little overwhelming to, not impossible, but not the best strategy to start when, like, it's hottest. You know what I mean? So start those coaches. What month, this is another question, write this down. What month am I going to qualify to attend Go Global? So you have to be at least executive director or higher by March 31st. So you definitely have plenty of time working strategically. But so what month are you going to qualify? If you have a team, find out what month they want to. So then the next question to write down and fill out is, from there, when are you going to register for Go Global, book your hotel room, and your plane tickets? And it will tell you, if you don't write it down, you're really decreasing the chances of it happening. We know that in all of life, right? So work that into your goals. And it's not even, like you're setting that timeline for yourself. So Brad and I consider December 15th the deadline, so to speak. If you want to start with us, say, like, your New Year's resolution is to start to get healthy, you would not wait till January 1st to order your food, or December 31st, or even after Christmas, because between the weather and shipping is bogged down and everything, you're not going to have your food for like another week after you started your New Year's resolution. And that really stinks, because we know how far you can be in just that week, right? So we tell people that in order to have all of your stuff ready to go by the time they want to start on the 31st or 1st or whatever, is let's have your order in by the 15th. And they totally get it. They totally understand. They're not waiting around ordering Christmas presents till the last day. They get how shipping works. So we say if we get it in by the 15th, we know we're going to have it by the 31st. When the 15th comes, it's not like, well, 15th, see you later. Like, it's like, okay, we'll be okay till like the 20th is the max to push it. So if you need, like, if we can't get a hold of each other between the 15th, whatever happened, people people procrastinate and they're like, oh my gosh, the 15th went by. It's like, no, you're okay. Let's just get it in. So about till the 20th is like our deadline after the deadline. But we work like the cutoff's the 15th. And then December 26th through the 28th, so after Christmas, right, we revisit people who want to start, and then layering the challenge that's coming, which I'm so excited that we have.
That's when we'd ideally get some branding out, start doing some teasers, because the challenge is coming up and will open up for registration in a few days after that.
Right. And then January 1st through the 7th is touching base with people for the challenge and getting them started, like registered for the challenge. This is just like Brad and I, this is our timeline of like our life. This is how we work it. And then the 12th is the beginning of the Healthy Games Challenge. Brad, go ahead and talk.
So the Healthy Game Challenge, and you'll get more information about this, is just going to be the same continuation of the game we played last time. So a lot of your clients that were joined in last time will, obviously continue and enjoy that. Continue the layering process for coaches. I know many of you I've talked with have a lot of people that are now further along in becoming, ready to become coaches because of the challenge. So, using that as a tool combined with the new year, if people want to be making choices with their health, this gives us an additional tool to make sure we're reaching out to everybody, exposing our brand, creating initiative, so that we get people. Ashley, your screen's going. You're gonna have to unplug it, Ashley.
I know.
So you have a reason to reach out and help them get started, in addition to just any normal reason besides that. So it gives you something powerful, and it gives a sense of urgency to get them in the deal or into the game, and get your New Year's off running well. And then you want to remember in your timeline that there's going to be super regionals that you're going to want to plug people into, because you've probably been very on purpose with your brand. You should have an idea of everyone that you want in the seats with you at your super regionals. And remember that the 9th and 10th are in Portland. There's going to be one on the 14th in Arizona. There's going to be one on the 16th and 17th in San Diego. So you don't even have to be at the event to be inviting people to them. A lot of the people here on the line are going to be at those events. So keep in mind that you will want to make sure that, if for all of you that are going to the super regional in Portland, that 2 days later the challenge starts. So you're going to want to be mentally prepared to make sure you maximize that out. This is just good timeline. So you're aware of it, so you can maximize your branding and maximize the effectiveness of it.
Yes. And then let's look at the next part. Okay, so then February 23rd, the challenge finishes. So go ahead.
Yep, and that's when they're going to do, they should ideally be doing client scholarships again. They're going to be more tailored towards the end of the challenge. So people that have maybe been referral or thinking about our past clients that, are in that mix, you can use that to build your business. New health coaches starting, because you've probably been tripping on them. And here's the other reason why Ashley and I have always done challenges and consistency with our brand.
Real quick, I don't know if people know that. Like, we've always run challenges, Brad and I personally. Sometime we would open them up like on a bigger scale. So we would open up to just our team. And that's part of where the idea for this whole thing came from, to run it through Take Shape for Life. So people think, oh, it's this new thing, but really we've proven it's worked, but we're just taking it to like a huge scale now.
Yeah. So when the challenge is over, you get to utilize, and by the way, our challenge has never had all these perks that we have now, which are really awesome. Plus, did anyone enjoy the money that they won at the end of that? That was pretty nice. So anyways, but here's the other thing, inconsistency with your branding. Because remember, you get to own it. Like, I love branding and consistency, because you get to create whatever you want to create. You ever done a webinar with someone and it's only you and the other person on the line? Well, you just did a national webinar. Let's say that person's not inside the state. Someone's in Washington, the other one's in Oregon. You get to own the branding of this. Hey, we just finished up our nationwide optimal health challenge. And this is what, you can do whatever you want. But what we would normally do is, the average person lost this much weight. We had this many contestants, this many people winning this. Anyways, it makes people understand that you are serious about what you're doing, and you can conjunction that with whatever brand you want. But anyways, the end of it is you get to basically say, you get to twofold it. You get all the benefits of bringing people into the challenge and a reason to talk to people. And then at the end of it, you get to tell everyone the results that missed the boat. And then people are like, man, I wish I would have done something like that about my health 6 weeks ago. And then your brand continues and you have more talking points. So Actually, that's the reason why we wrap that up. And then we just continue to do what we do every single day, because we don't just do the challenge. The challenge is a great tool. We still connect, share, follow up, invite people to get healthy with us, take referrals, create them. So that's why March is traditionally a great month of business. Ashley, do you want to cover that one real quick? Because that's the last slide right there.
Yeah, so March is like awesome. People think that January is really the biggest. Actually, it's March. And I'll tell you why. Because all that work you did to get people started, you start a whole bunch of people. If you work hard right now in your sharing and everything, you start a whole bunch in January. But what happens is a whole bunch of people have been watching, and they either haven't said anything, or they're like, I'm not really ready. By March, they have not lost weight, or they've lost maybe 2 pounds, or they're up weight. It takes them about 2 to 3 months of a cycle of proving, like, I have no idea what I'm doing, clearly, or I wouldn't be in this situation. Now I'm going to call you, and okay, fine, I'll get started. Fine. Okay, I've tried my whatever. It didn't work. Now I'm ready to start. So that's why January is great, but March is better. If you work it like that. So traditionally the best month for those who have been laying the groundwork, and that's the groundwork we're talking about. And then April is the Go Global Leadership Training event. So that goes on the calendar too. So pick out, again, back to when are you going to qualify for Go Global? And then when are you going to register? Book your hotel room, plane ticket, be strategic about it. Here's all the timeline for your next few months. It's really like no mystery about it. Okay, well, there you go, Brad.
So as we wrap up here, we thought we'd give you guys a list of different things you can do to be omnipresent, but we thought that'd be counterproductive to encouraging you to build your own brand. So I just wanted to open it up to a few people on the line to just share some different things that they're doing in conjunction to build their January, February, and March to be omnipresent with their brand. So does anyone want to share any cool things that they're doing as we go through the holidays? Go ahead and click yourself up.
I will, Brad.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I just, to me, it's something that we do all year long, but during the holidays, we tend to see people that we typically don't see. So for them to see the things that we're doing, when we're in these family functions and around friends, and they're seeing us do our healthy habits, they're watching us. And it's not about us being the food police, but everything about just shining that nutrition light. And as a health coach, having a healthy attitude about what we do present, how we present ourselves. And then when they ask us, well, what are you doing? And showing how much we enjoy what we're doing. Setting an appointment to talk with them, talking to them about the challenge, talking to them about coming to Super Regional. All those are great opportunities. And even as we're traveling, I met a guy in the airport yesterday. He's going to be my new best friend. He is awesome. I am so excited to have him come on. He begged me, please help me, please help me. So that's what it's about, just shining that health coach light or that nutrition light wherever we are.
So one of your things, because you shine a light of health with your story, is you're going to be very present during all of your holiday gatherings in an inspirational way. Like, just do little things that people pick up and notice on. People have seen your success, but then they're going to continue to notice what you do. Little things that make people think. That's a really good one. Anyone else have any other things?
I would add to that. It's funny. That's so funny. That's the first one you said, Denise, because back on my notes from when I taught this like years ago, I'm looking at my old notes, and it was literally what you said. It was eat the food. Well, this is in a roundabout way, but taking it to that next level of eat your meal replacements in public. So if you're walking through the mall, I don't go to the mall without a ready-to-drink shake. And even when it's empty, I'm like pretending to drink it. And I can't tell you how many people have asked me, what is that? What is that? At gatherings, when in front of your circles, when creating your circles of influence. You just joined a new whatever group, networking, moms, Christmas crafts, whatever, cooking, whatever, bring your food. If it's been 2 hours and you haven't eaten, like pull out something and eat it and just watch people watch you and be like, what is that? But exactly like Denise said, it doesn't mean you need to be like some food Nazi, condescending, like that's not attractive.
It's not a good brand.
It doesn't, I'm like totally obsessed with, like I love Thanksgiving because I love stuffing and I love cranberry sauce and I don't care about anything else. I'm going to eat that. Like I'm not on a 5-in-1, you know what I mean? So it's not bad branding to enjoy that, but I'm not like gorging myself and then a couple hours later I'm eating a meal replacement. So you know what I mean? Like enjoy life. And I think that was Denise's point, is like make it so attractive. Like just enjoy life, which of course you're doing because you feel good.
Yeah, it's good. Anyone else have any other things they're doing?
Hey, Brad and Ashley.
Yeah, Danny, what's up, man?
What's up? Hey, just to add on that, aren't our clients an extension of our brand too?
Yes, they are.
When you say all those things for ourselves, and you know, we do this as we connect with our clients on a daily basis, but part of that preparation for the holidays, not just how they're going to handle the holidays through their program, but also how they're going to be seeing their families and they're going to be spending time with their friends and stuff. So I think that's a huge part that this is my second New Year's or second holiday as a coach. And one thing that I want to do a lot better this year is really preparing my clients to be that extension of my brand as well. And I know that as we do that, then of course our referrals will increase as well, and we'll meet more people that way too.
That's a good brand. So you're branding yourself to have a strong client base because you're even owning your clients as an extension of your brand. That's how much you value your Abundant Life brand. I like that, Dan.
Super smart. Yeah, like you said, you're equipping them. You're not just like, oh, I hope they like, oh, I'm eating MetaFast. Like you're teaching them before they go into those situations. It's all part of your like prep conversation.
All right.
Well, and it goes back to it's not perfection, it's consistency with that, because of course you're going to have those that still do that, and they do that. You know, I joke around with them when they do, but yeah, it makes it more fun. I've connected better with my clients as I've really focused on that too. I've gotten a lot closer to them, I feel, than I have in the past too. So
very smart, very, very smart. Yes.
All right, let's do one more. Anyone else got anything?
I do, Brad.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Don.
We have a few things that we do, but I was really thinking about, and I've heard you teach this class a few times, and each time I take away so much, but the whole marketing is different than branding, and really it's not, a lot of what we do is kind of a blend of those things, but how you carry yourself, what you make your promise. I love that Dan brought that up, because that's exactly what we have begun to do over the last couple of years. You know, the extension of your brand being the clients. I mean, we have been this particular holiday season really like sending out healthy recipes, encouraging our clients to share those with their friends and families, preparing them to go home for the holidays with healthy recipes, healthy dishes, knowing how to refer and how to connect their friends and family to us. Preparing them even with a, special newsletter we're sending out tomorrow that's literally giving them the tools of how to share it with their family and connect them. One of the things that we promise is that we step up our support through the holidays, and that this is a time when we get back in contact with a lot of our maintenance clients and our clients that may need to kind of come back onto program or have some more support through this time of year. So that's a promise that we hold true to every year. They're going to be getting extra support from us, and we're going to stand up for that. And then our culture, we are spending this time of the year being kind of omnipresent with our family and our friends and out and about in our community and inviting people into our home. And, you know, it's the time of year where you don't really show up to someone's house without something healthy to eat or something fun to do. And really just branding that we stand for family and we stand for friendship and we stand for integrity, and getting our voice out there. So those are some things that we do. And that all rolls into talking to them about the holidays and staying true to their goals and giving people grace and walking through the choices that they have this time of year. And so that they don't feel like if they decide to make a choice not to stick with a 5-in-1, that they need to kind of run and hide from us, but that we're going to stand with them and help them navigate what their choices are. So empowering people to be in control of their own health and to almost be their own brand. It's amazing how when you have this mindset, when you talk to your clients, you're encouraging them to have that freedom to what do they stand for? What is their culture? What's their voice that they're building? And that creates not only friendships and amazing partners on this mission, but it creates a loyal client that's going to send their whole family to you.
Yes. Okay. 2 things that I was just thinking when I was thinking about you, Dawn, was what you said about having that conversation. One of the things of why you and Brian are some of the like biggest sponsoring teams out there is because something that you guys have no problem talking to people about, like these clients you have these relationships with, is you have no problem bringing up, do you tend to do better when you are do you do better in your health when you're kind of doing it for somebody else, even more than just yourself? And that's something I've seen you guys be able to do, and how you sponsor so much is because you don't hesitate to bring that up with people. So these clients are knowing like, yes, I'm doing this for my own health, but I'm doing it to be an inspiration. And so it completely changes the dynamic for these people from going from client and, you know, whatever, to now sharing it abundantly, and then you're sponsoring them. So that's one thing I saw you guys do. And the other thing is we were just talking about our Christmas cards, and you were asking us about Christmas cards. So you guys and we do, and a whole bunch of you do, but you do your little Christmas letters. Like last year, I don't know where ours is. Brad, do you know where our Christmas letter is? It's like a postcard. And we sent it out. And here's a couple of reasons we did a postcard. 1, they're less expensive. 2, the stamps are less expensive. And people read what's on it if you write like your quick little snippet. But we have no hesitation, and Dawn and Brian have no hesitation in sharing how their business has grown or their health journey or their whatever. Like it all matches in that brand, and it's not like, oh, I'm going to shy away from it. If you started a hair salon, wouldn't you be telling people on your Christmas letter? Like you'd be so excited if you started whatever you're doing. If you lost 100 pounds this year, like tell people. So add that to your Christmas card because it is a part of your life. And that's what those are for, right? And I don't mean to say if you don't do Christmas cards, like if you're like, you know, doing your Hanukkah celebrations, whatever you're doing, like you're going to have opportunities, right? So that's something that you brought up for sure, Dawn, was that just the other day with me.
Well, because we're putting ours together because we like to get it out as soon after Thanksgiving as we can so that they are sitting on people's mantles or right where people can, and we put our picture on there. Our picture is always on there, and we brand it really lifestyle-y, and so people can say, oh, who's this? You know, it's just also another great layering referral source. The other only thing I was going to mention was this time of year, there's a lot of community things going on, bazaars, holiday raffles, and things like that. And I just noticed on Facebook that my friend was doing a Friends Thanksgiving and raising money for UNICEF. And so she was asking for raffle prizes. So I emailed her right away. It's on Saturday, so it's never too late. Like, I think she invited me a while ago, and it slipped my mind, right? But I saw it today. I emailed her. I was like, I'd like to donate a month of complimentary coaching and a $100 gift certificate towards a nutrition program. And she was like, awesome, I've got it on. And so, you know, regardless, when we get there, we can be supporting something, standing up for our community, and branding at the same time.
Perfect. Yes. Yes, so good. So good. Okay, good. I hope that gives you guys just a few ideas. Take the ideas we gave you and see if they match your brand. Remember, first decide your brand, go over the questions, run it through, get it squeaky clean, totally clear, explain it to somebody, and then ask them, I'm going to tell you my brand. You tell me what I just said. If they can't translate it, you got to get more clear, right? So do that and then decide your marketing for your brand and take all these ideas we just went over. Okay. You ready, Brad?
Yeah. So just to recap, I mean, we don't have to go into everything, but what is your brand? Why is it your brand? Does your brand match your long-term goals? So like obviously the things you do to promote your brand, the things you promote your brand to do, does it get you to where you want to go? So like, we spent time talking about things that people are going to be doing this new year. It matches their goals and it matches their brand. So I think it's really empowering. This is what we'll wrap up tonight with is one, thank you, Ashley, because you're the one that basically taught me all about this. Not letting what people think and what you stand for be an afterthought, but having it be a forethought. Because what you desire to create is what you go create with intention. So what do you want your brand to be? You get to create it. And that way it makes it, I mean, especially for if you're a newer coach on the line, then instead of being afraid to, worry if you're going to be able to talk to a few people, you're going to be more inspired to have a passionate brand that you got to make sure people know what it is you stand for. And yes, all the same thing goes with the sharing and following up and, the numbers and tracking people and all that great stuff. But when you really get on fire about your brand and get really and have a lot of fun with it, that's when everything kind of comes together. So live your brand, find out what your brand is, and have fun making sure everyone knows what your brand is. Ashley, is that everything?
Yep. So this is just the recap to summarize the main points. What is your brand? Why is it your brand? Does your brand and long-term goals match? What are you going to do from today on to exemplify that brand to the world? And then after you've gone over the previous questions and thought process in depth with yourself, what is your timeline? Like we drew out ours, but what is your specific timeline from December, or from today until April? And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley.